some of the skull is missing, then it may not be. So with regard to the skull of a dead body, if you have only the skull we're talking about here, we have a rule. The hole that would render it not creating tumat hamet, the hole in the skull has to be as big as makdeach, as a surgeon drill. I guess they used to have drills back then. Thank you. And Rav Yirmiyah says, ובגולגולת שיש בה נקב אחד ארוך, אפילו יש בה נקבים הרבה מצטרפים למלוא מקדח. So if in a skull, if you have a bunch of small holes, how do you measure if does it get to matamet or not? You put the holes together and you see, do you get to the measurement of a surgeon drill? In other words, the concept of having a bunch of small holes and measuring if they are combined to a larger hole exists. Where into matamet? Can we do an analogy and take that rule and apply it to a bunch of holes that are happening on the windpipe? Alma, kevan de shiura melo magdach, because the measurement is the diameter of a drill, not the diameter, the area of a drill. Lemlo magdach mitztarfin. We have a bunch of small holes. We'll see if they join up to make one hole.
But hole is a hole. But it doesn't matter if it's a small or big. Right away is
that's that's in the foot pipe. We're talking about
foot pipe.
Foot pipe. We're talking about the windpipe now.
Okay.
Achename. Kevan de shiura keisar lecheisar mitztarfin. We have a new concept here. They tell us here that if you have a bunch of small holes, we measure them and we see if they reach the size of a certain coin. Isar is an Italian coin. Isar Italki. We've never heard this before. We always, with the windpipe, we only had one rule. Majority, we measured, taref. Now we have this concept of Isar, of a coin. We're going to see now. Ishtamteha de Amar Rabbi Chalba. Amar Rav. Amar Rav Chama Bar Guri, Amar Rav. Two types of holes. Depends what kind of hole you have. נקבים שיש בהם חיסרון מצטרפים לחיסר ושאין בהם חיסרון לרובה. So there's two types of holes. If the hole in the windpipe is like a cut like this, flesh is not missing, it's just cut. Then we measure, like we said originally, we have to measure that a majority, more than 50% of the inside. If, however, these are holes where meat is not missing, it's just holes like this. In other words, the meat was pushed in. You can have a hole without missing, theoretically, anything. Obviously, I'm sure something is missing because where puncture took something away, but substantially nothing is missing. Then you see if they measure up to the size of an isar, of a coin. And we're going to explain further. Amar Rabba bar bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, nitla yemena retzua mitztarefet lekeisar. What happens if you have a strip of the windpipe missing? Like this or like this. Again, not a cut, just a strip like this missing. Same rule. We see if it measures up. If you squish it together, do you get to the size, to the area of a coin of an isar? Same question we had before. What happens if you have this bunch of small holes? This is the rule. You join them up, you see if it's a coin, if there's missing tissue. Then we go, if there's no tissue missing, we go according to the old rule of the majority of the space inside. Question is, be'ofa. What happens with the chicken? You cannot tell me an isar also applies to the chicken. Chicken windpipe is very small. You take an isar out of it, it's a lot. Can't be the same rule for a chicken. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachman, with the chicken, what do? מקפלו ומניחו על פי הקנה. אם חופה את רוב הקנה טרפה, ואם לאו, כשרה. Says, with regard to a chicken, we simply take all the tissue that has holes, we fold it, we measure, and we see do we reach a majority of the windpipe or we don't. The majority meaning, just like the original explanation, the 50%, 51% of the area of the circle. Assume it's a circle or an oval. Amar Rav Papa v'simanich napya. Okay, now we have another question. Nifcheta kadelet. You got a flap in the windpipe, like a little door. You see Rashi says it's like, looks like, like a curtain. Opens up like this. What do? Amar Rav Nachman, kedeshi yikanes isar lerochbo. How do you understand this? Kedeshi yikanes isar lerochbo. What does that mean? You think it's like the machines where you put a coin in the machine. Yeah. Can you stick a coin like that's one explanation, right?
Versus the coin like this.
Okay, so here we have machloket Rambam and Rashi. That's exactly the machloket. That's why I asked, because you can Rambam and Rashi.
You haven't heard my machloket yet.
How do you? There's only two
Rabbi
ways.
Baruch here.
There's only two ways. Rabbi Baruch.
Yeah.
There's only two ways to insert this coin. Either the coin goes this way. Here, if the coin goes, think about it this way. Oh, you got it here. Perfect. You have a picture. You don't have. That's machloket Rishonim. How does it work? The Shulchan Aruch brings both. Shulchan Aruch brings the first one where you put the whole coin in as the first opinion. Then he has the second. Someone says Yesh Omrim. It's like this. Okay. Slot machine, or like a puzzle, or nisdeka. What happens if the windpipe is fractured along the length of the windpipe? We're talking about the windpipe being fractured along the windpipe. Amar Rav, אפילו לא נשתייר בה אלא חוליה אחת למעלה, חוליה אחת למטה, כשרה. Even if it has only one ring at the top, one ring at the bottom, it's not taref. Rashi explains, some say one ring actually means three rings, but that's not the halacha. אמרו כמה דרבי יוחנן, אמר מה חוליה, מה חוליה? I don't care about חוליות, I don't care about rings. דקאמר רב, like Rav said. אלא אפילו לא נשתייר בה אלא משהו למעלה ומשהו למטה, כשרה. Anything at the top, anything at the bottom, I'm not worried about a fracture along. Rashi explains why. He says fractures like this generally heal. It's just the way the animal stretches his neck, it actually helps the healing, as opposed to a fracture like this, where the animal raises and opens, moves his neck, would actually cause even a greater fracture on a regular basis. They said on behalf of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, that the fracture just need a little at the top, a little at the bottom, and it's not taref. He praised them. So, I just want to bring a small item here to your attention. We keep on saying, we've all been saying it for the last, week, that if the windpipe is cut the majority like this, and if there's a hole in the footpipe, it's taref. That's what we kept on saying, right? If you remember, we learned, page Lamed Bet, page 30, I think it was 32, Lamed Bet Aleph, in the Mishnah there, that it wasn't taref. It was worse than or it was one level higher. We learned about 6 types of animals that are nevela while they're alive. And 2 of them, the last 2, were a hole in the foot pipe and a split in the majority split cut in the windpipe. And here we call it trefa. And we said back then, was machloket Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Ishbav, and Rabbi Akiva says it's trefa. Rabbi Ishbav says it's nevela. We said there's a Mishnah, this is trefa. We quoted this Mishnah. And then we said, no, this Mishnah was written before Rabbi Akiva conceded. Remember that? Rabbi Akiva actually conceded, and therefore it's not trefa. It's nevela. So what the heck are we doing here? We keep on arguing trefa. All these rules say it's trefa. So what? The Gemara was written after the Mishnah, so they knew already. And whoever wrote the Gemara wrote page 32 first, page 45 later. So how do you explain this? So I was like looking at this, and then it hit me. I'm looking back, and I'm like, what am I teaching? I'm probably teaching it the wrong way. It makes no sense. And I'm looking at it, and then and the Shulchan Aruch says in some place, and then I looked at Shulchan Aruch. He calls it nevela. And then the Achronim though call it trefa all the time. Trefa, elu trefa. So one of the answers that I read, which is quite interesting, it's a nevela. The difference between this nevela and the 6 type of nevelot that the animal is, while it's a nevela, while it's alive. The 4 ones are very extreme. Remember we had where the animal was almost cut in half. The other one where the knees were missing, so when they sit, you can see an empty space, or when the spinal cord has been torn off in order to meet. We have really extreme cases in nevela. Then we had these 2. The Rambam quotes all 6 as nevela, but he says the first 4 create tuma even when the animal is alive. So if you have an animal that the bottom of their legs were missing and you can see the space, the animal may be alive, but it creates tuma. It's still nevela. The other 2, the hole in the veshet and the cut in the windpipe, it's nevela, but it doesn't create tuma. So why do we care if it's nevela? It doesn't create tuma. The whole concept of nevela is for tuma. There's no difference between. This comes an interesting concept. The Beit Chadash explains that, I didn't bring him, but I remember from memory, I read it yesterday. He says something very interesting, and he says, we call it a trefa while it's alive, But after it's dead, it's actually a nevela. Why? It says, "My nafkamina." What's the difference? And many people don't know this. When we say an animal is a trefa, not only that if you kill it, you slaughter it properly, you can't eat it. The other problem is any product of the animal is not kosher. So a cow that is trefa, it's milk. You cannot drink the milk. A chicken that is trefa, the eggs are no good. The animal is not kosher. The product of the animal is not kosher. The whole concept of kosher animal is whatever comes out of kosher animal is kosher. Not so. That's the idea. Now there's all siman pei aleph that discusses milk of a trefa and an egg of a trefa. The whole concept. That's the halacha, by the way. So how do we drink milk today? Do we check the animals? I mean, can you imagine? We know there's a certain, some of the animals are exactly. So there's rules in the halacha about majority, and because the majority of the cows don't have a problem, so we rule it's batel and more than shishim and so on and so forth.
Can you do that with an egg? Because it's an independent entity.
That there's a whole conversation about it. There's a whole is it davar chashuv? Is it something which is important enough to be not batel? The question is, do you batel it while it's in the animal or outside the animal? There's a whole. I'm not going to get into it today, but it's a whole interesting concept. There's an answer actually I found of Rav Moshe Feinstein about this, where he says you can drink the milk in America. Don't worry, because he brings the whole analysis that even though we have trefa, it's a minority. Because it's a minority, the milk is okay. So when we say nevela, I call it a trefa, even though it's actually a nevela once it's dead, because even if you do proper shchita, it was nevela from the beginning. But it's a trefa. We call it a trefa because the product of that animal. So they say is that if an animal is wounded and you did a shchita and found the animal as trefa, but you had the milk from the day before, can you drink the milk? Not the drink milk. So it depends what kind of trefa. If it's a trefa that can heal in 3 days, it's something that can be caused or can be healed, then no. So it depends on the situation. Tane Rabbi Chia, Bar Yosef, Kame de Rabbi Yochanan. Now we're getting what David mentioned yesterday. Where can we slaughter on the windpipe? Yesterday we spoke where can we slaughter on the fruit pipe. And we said 2 or 3 or 4 fingers from here and all the way down where the hair, right? And now we're talking about the windpipe. Kol hatzavar kulo kasher leshechita. The whole neck is okay. Mitabat hagedola, from the top ring ad kanfei areah, until the flaps of the lung. The bottom flaps of the lung. Amarava tachtona she'elyona. What does it mean? You take the animal, and after it's killed, you flip it over, and the lung. I'm sure if you don't have a picture, I don't have a picture of the lung, but in general, the lung has. We're going to learn it next page. There's 2 umot. They call it umot because it's like the mothers, 2 mothers, and then there's 5 unot. 5 una is like udna, like ear in Arabic. 5 ears, 5 flaps, and so these 2 umot are at the bottom. Then you got these flaps, and when you fill it up with air, it looks like a giant flower. It's pretty. I mean, you could. And then when you flip the animal, the flaps cover part of the windpipe. That's the bottom border for shchita. So when you flip the animal, the flaps go down. I think I have a picture of that. Article, perfect. You have pictures, terrific. I don't have a picture. I have a picture of something else.
This is a very small picture there.
Yeah, okay. But the idea is that if you flip the animal, you get part of the lung covers the windpipe. Okay. Shani Omer, another way of looking at it, Kol sheposhet et tzavara veroa bilvad shelo te'anes. The way the animal grazes, they stretch the neck to graze, right? That's what's kosher. Bae Rabbi Chanina ve'etema Rabbi Chanania ansat mama. You know what happens if the animal really tries to stretch out his neck to get something to eat? Is it? Do we apply? How do we view teko? We don't know lechumra. Now, if you want to see a picture of this, I got pictures of this. Here, this is the first. Whoever doesn't have pictures, it's the top one. Whoever doesn't have pictures, I got another one here for you. The first one. Call shots of how this one. The first one. So if you see the first one, this is a regular. That's the windpipe of the animal. You got the lungs here. That's what the animal. You have the lungs here. The next page, the other side of it, is if you stretch it. The border doesn't change if you stretch it. Still remains where it is. The fact that you stretched it is irrelevant. That's what he's trying to show here.
I'm becoming a vegetarian today.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Till dinner.
once you get
Dinner.
once you get to the chapter where they deal about a baby calf, then you become a vegetarian. I promise you that. Okay. Yetiv Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. They sat together. Two halachot came out. Nafka milta mibenayu. Anas b'simanim v'shachat esula. If you stretch the simanim to slaughter, it's no good. You cannot extend the border by stretching it, like we said. Nikav hakaneh lemata min hachazeh. What happens if there's a hole in the windpipe under the bottom border of where you can do shechita? Do we rule that it's like the windpipe, or do we rule like it's the lungs? Now, this is a common question in all these days. We always have a rule for the organ or for the part, and we ask, what about the connecting tissue? So, same thing here. How do we rule about that? He says, Nidon kereya. When he's going to chumrah, it's like the lung. Lung is a puncture, is no good. We'll read it next page. Not like the kaneh, where you need a majority cut. Tanu Rabbanan. Now, because we mentioned the word chazeh, the animal's chest or breast, we're going to mention that for Korban Shlamim. We know the Kohen gets the part of what he gets is the chazeh. So, Ezu chazeh, ze aroe et hakarka. למטה עד הצוואר, למעלה עד הכרס, חותך שתי צלעות משתי דפנות, אלך ואלך, וזהו חזה ניתן לכהנים. You have a picture of it, exactly what it is. If you're interested in looking, it's the third page. It's part of the animal with two ribs. That's the chazeh, that's what the Kohen gets.
That's what he has to wait.
That's what he waits for. Once you do Korban Shlamim, he gets the chazeh. Page 3. Okay. Tanu Rabban Nikav. Now we're switching to a new trefa of the brain. Trefa of the brain. Now, brain. We all know this. Probably known as from biology class. You have the skull. Then you got a membrane. Then you got an inner membrane, the one that really is tight around the brain. It's like two, and there's fluid also. But we're looking here at skull is one strong layer, then we have like a bag, then we have a tight bag. Rav Shmuel Damar Taivahu, Karma Ila, if the top membrane is pierced, no good. Afal Gav Delo Inkiv Tata, even if the bottom membrane, the one that's really tight, covering the brain tissue, is good. If the top is pierced, the animal is taref. Ve'amrila, and some quoted them as saying, Ad the Inkiv. Until the bottom one, adi inkiv tata, until the bottom one is pierced. So obviously we see here, problem is we don't know what they said. Do you explain it as top and bottom? Do you explain it only as bottom? So how do you rule? Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani v'simani chayta dematnach b'mocha. Amar Rabba bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, kenegdo b'betzim nikar. Same thing with the testicles, they also have two covers, but that's just the way to remember it. The halacha is, the Shulchan Aruch writes, the bottom membrane. If there's a hole in the bottom membrane, even if there's no hole in the top membrane, it's taref. Some poskim say you have to have a hole in both. Some say even if you have a hole in the top. Today, if you probably have a hole in the membrane, doesn't matter top or bottom, they will say the animal is taref. Again, but they don't check it unless they see it. It's not one of the only trefa that the Shochet Bodek actually checks, no matter what, is the lungs.
No.
Everything else, unless there's a reason to check, he doesn't check. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Pazi, talk about animals, not chickens. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi bar Kapara. Moach, kol ma shebakdera nidon kamoach. How do you define brain? He says whatever is in the pot. In other words, in the skull. Itchil imshoch nidon kechut hashila. Once it starts to extend, to thin out, we treat it like the spinal cord. ומאחד מתחיל להימשך, אמר רבי יצחק בן נחמני, לדידי מפרש של ימין רבי יהושע בן לוי, כמין שני פולים יש מונחים על פי הכתב. It's like two peas or two beans at the bottom of the head, the bottom of the brain, where it's connected to the spinal cord. מן הפולין ולפנים, from them and inside to the head, כלפנים, it's the brain. מן הפולין ולחוץ, from them and outside, it's the spinal cord. ופולין עצמם, אין יודע. ומסתברא כלפנים. And these two little beans should be treated as part of the brain. Rabbi Yirmiyah badak be'ofa ve'ashkach kemin shne pulin munachim. He actually checked in the chicken and he found these two little pulin. Now, what's the difference? Once you get to the spinal cord, the rules of trefa are different. The rules become that if you'll see a majority of this, there's a cut. Very similar to the windpipe as opposed to a brain where just a hole. Now, we're getting to a very exciting topic of the heart. Nikav alev lebet chalalo. What happens if you got a... This is actually the only part where it says lebet chalalo in the Mishnah. Everything else it says pierce, and we say if it's pierced, it reaches beyond the tissue. With the heart, it specifically says it has to be beyond the muscular tissue. It's got to enter into the space. Why? The Tosfot explains because the heart is very thick. So you would think they want to make sure you understand the hole's got to be really through. Bae Rabbi Zera. To which chamber? Levet Chalal Katan or Levet Chalal Gadol? Big one, small one. You know the heart in general has 4 chambers, right? We all learn the heart has 4 chambers. The left accepts the blood from the lungs, sends it to the body. The right accepts the blood from the body, sends it to the lungs. Amar le Abaye, I'm going to try and learn this from an opinion about the lungs. Where? Milotnan, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Ad shetinakev levet hasimfonot. When we speak about a lung, and that's next page, if there's a hole in the lung that reaches the main, I don't know how they translate symphonot.
Bronchi.
Again?
Bronchi.
Okay. I guess that's where the word bronchitis comes from. That which is, if you look at the lung, it has like all these flaps. I said the flaps are filled with these tubes. That's what we're talking about. So it says until it reaches the symphonot. How do we explain this? It's got to be the largest one, the main one. Same thing with the heart, should be adheres to the large chamber. The Gemara says Achiyashta. Hatam levet simfonot katana. There it says in plural, and we learned why where all the tubes go to. That's the main one. Ve'acha levet chalalo katana. The Mishnah says to the chamber. Mali chalal gadol, mali chalal katana. What I care if it's a small chalal or a big chalal. And something about the heart to make it a little more exciting. Very famous question that the Chacham Tzvi was asked, Rabbi Tzvi Ashkenazi. To relate to you, I don't know. Was the chief rabbi of Hamburg and a bunch of towns in the area. Then became chief rabbi of Amsterdam. This is like 1650. He lived 1650 to 1720. He died 62 years of age, very young, relatively speaking. The Chacham Tzvi was asked. He was one of the giants at the time. He fought the Shabtai Tzvi movement, and his son Rabbi Yaakov Emden even fought it even more. And he was asked. I'll read you the question. It's a fascinating question. And tell me what you think. I translate it as I read it. I'll just do it in English. A lady came and said that it got a chicken from the shochet. She took the chicken to the shochet slaughtered it, brought back the chicken. And she wanted to clean the chicken like they used to do in the olden days. You take the chicken, you clean it up, you take everything out. It wasn't done at the supermarket. She wanted to take out the intestines, big table. She was doing her job. And there was a small cat sitting there at the bottom, waiting to get the leftovers, whatever she throws. And the lady said, she did not find the heart in the chicken. She went through the chicken, could not find the heart. And the mother, the owner of the chicken, says, maybe, by accident you threw the heart on the floor and the cat ate it. And the young daughter says, no, did not throw the heart to the floor. I threw the spleen. I did not throw the heart. And the chicken is fat and healthy and there's no problem with it. And the insides are clean. There's no problem. You look and there's no, even what the heart's supposed to be, there's no problem in the chambers, the lung, everything is clean. And while it was alive, it was a strong chicken and healthy. It was drinking and eating, flying, and whatever it's doing as a chicken. He describes it, a very powerful chicken, no problem. Like the healthiest chickens you'll see. But she couldn't find the heart. And the question came in front of the Talmidim and Yeshiva. And they said it's tref. Why? Nital alev. You take the heart out. If an animal has no heart, it's taref, it's missing an organ. Yorenu amore. Please teach us, Rabbi, what are we supposed to do here? So, he got this question. What do you think the answer was? What would a common sense answer be? You're asking. Chicken has...
No way.
They definitely lost it.
It's impossible, no heart.
Exactly. Baruch answer. Oh, he asked the same question. Hey, guys, chicken with no heart. Oh, what are you talking about? It's like telling me an animal with no head. Doesn't exist. No way. And he answers. And it's one of his shortest answers, by the way. He's got very long answers. He's got beautiful answers. He writes in very in beautiful language, very clear, very concise. Even though he was an Ashkenazi posek, he adopted the Sephardic way of ruling. No, he says it. He says it, and that he was very well accepted also by the Sephardim in Amsterdam. There were actually Sephardim in Amsterdam back then, and they liked him very much. His way of ruling was more, concise, but clear, not pilpulim, but these are the rules. So he says, "To'im kol ha'omrim ken." It's clear. Anybody who's got a heart or a brain in his head cannot be any creature in the world that can live 1 minute without a heart and be like a healthy person. Can't be. He says, even if there was no cat there, he says, okay, maybe the cat took it. He says, even if there's no cat, I would still rule the same thing. And then he brings all these proofs from many places where it says that if there's that a person cannot live without a heart, and so on and so forth. Believe it or not, it was a minority opinion. Many poskim went against him. Many poskim. It was a big fight over this ruling. He actually left the Rabbanut in Hamburg, partly because of this reason. Big fight, big argument. And why did they say it was no good? The other poskim, they said, not this specific case, there was a cat. In this circumstances, we say probably the cat stole the heart. But the answer was, the heart may get ill, and if the heart gets really ill, it may change its look. And there may have been an organ there that looks like the heart, but she doesn't think it's the heart. So that may have been the reason she couldn't see a heart. Not because there's no heart. And on the other side of this machlokas was Rabbi Ifshitz, who was Baal Dekreti Peleti, more or less the same time, but he mainly argued with the son of the Chacham Tzvi, Rabbi Yaakov Emdin. And then it developed to a fight also about Shabtaut, because Chacham Tzvi always fought the movement of the Shabtai Tzvi, of the false Masnaya at the time. Yeah, the Mashiach Sheker. And his son, Rabbi Yaakov Emdin, continued the fight, and he accused Rabbi Yonatan Ifshitz of being kind of like a supporter of the Shabtaut. Because Rabbi Yonatan Ifshitz brought the doctors that said, can't live without a heart, but a heart can change its shape if it's really sick. And if the heart is really sick, the chicken is no good. So, that's an interesting concept about a missing heart. Okay. Now we're talking about whatever connects the heart to the other parts. Kanei Alev, it's not really the part that connects I looked it up in the picture. It doesn't really look like it's the windpipe connecting directly to the heart, but it's from the windpipe goes to the heart. What is it? Rav Amar b'mashu. Appears just like the heart. Shmuel Amar berubo. We're going to treat it like the windpipe. Same issue. Do we treat it like the organ it's going to, or the organ it's coming from? I knew Kanei Alev. What is this Kanei Alev? The pipe that's coming from the heart.
Why did they call it Kanei Alev? It's Kanei.
Because it's mechubar to the heart. Yeah, you're going to see now. Exactly. Amar Rabba bar Yitzchak Amar Rav. What is Kanei Alev? He brings an explanation. Chelev she'al gabed fanot. The fat that's on the sides. Gemara says fanot. What does that have to do with taref? You can have less fat, the animal will live. More fat, the animal will live. So we push that explanation aside. Ela she'al gabed dofnei re'ah. Whatever, it's the tissue that connects the heart to the lung, and it's the fatty tissue. Amar Amemar explains. Mishmei de Rav Nachman. Lata kanei havu. There's actually 3 connections. Chad parish leliba. One goes to the heart. Chad parish lereah. One goes to the lung. Chad parish lekevda. One goes to the liver. Dereah kereah. The one that goes to the lung, we treat it like the lung. The one that goes to the liver, we treat it like the liver, which is the easiest taref, because most of the liver can be missing. As long as you have a certain amount in a certain place, you're good. And the one that goes to the heart, that's the machloket. Mar barichi amat neif. I was explaining it differently, opposite. The one that goes to the rea, we treat it like the liver, kikavda. The one that goes to the liver, we treat it like the lung. The liba, onto the heart, they have a machloket. Azal Rabbi Chia Bar Yosef Amar Lishmata de Rav, Kamedesh, when he said what Rav said by Shmuel, that you only need a small pierce in that kaneh, in that pipe, and it's taref. Amar le, Iyachi Amar Rabba, if that's what Abba says, that was Rav's name. Lo yada batrefot, velo klum. He doesn't know trefot. The halacha is anything. A pierce in any one of these three tubes would make it taref. Nishbar Hashdera, the spinal cord. And the spinal cord is different than the brain. Tanu Rabbanan, Chut Hashidra Shenifsak Berubo, Divrei Rabbi. It's got to be a majority. Again, it's like the windpipe. That's what we understand initially. The cut is like this. It's got to be a majority. We'll see what this means. Rabbi Yaakov Omer afilu nikav, even a little pierce in the spinal cord. Hora Rabbi ke Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi heard that Rabbi Yaakov said. He started teaching like Rabbi Yaakov, a more machmir ruling. Amar Avuna, that's not the case. En halacha ke Rabbi Yaakov. Halacha is not like Rabbi Yaakov. Halacha is like Rabbi, that you need a cut that is the majority. Kama rubo. What does it mean majority? Rav Amar rovoro, ve'amrele rov mocho. The spinal cord, Rashi explains, a couple also have it in pictures, has the membrane outside, and then you got the spinal marrow fluid inside, right? There's inside and there's outside. So one opinion says if the majority of the circumference in one place, the majority of it is cut, it's taref. The other one says in that specific place, if it's missing inside the majority. Now you would think if the majority on the outside is cut, what's going to happen to the fluid inside? It's going to spill out. So if you hold that the outside is treff, then if you hold the inside is treff, definitely the outside would be, because it would all spill out, right? So the more machmir approach is to go with the inside. If you're saying the inside, if missing on the inside, definitely if it's missing the outside, because nothing is going to hold it. But whoever holds that we're looking at the exterior and not the inside, why do we do if the inside is missing in one place? We don't care about, not if the entire inside is missing. In one place it's missing some of the inside. If it's missing at the outside, the majority, it's taref. Why? It's going to end up spilling out. Rav Natan bar Ravina Aviyativ Kamed Rav, he was sitting and checking a spinal cord for taref. Badak berovoro, he checked the majority of the exterior. And then he went to check the inside. The kabadak rov moche. Amar lo im rovoro kayem. If you're checking if the outside is okay, moach zeh, the inside, the marrow inside, the spinal fluids, I don't care about the inside. Amar Rabba bar Chan, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Nitmareach pasul, nitmasmes pasul. Now we're talking about a case where the spinal cord is intact. However, when you're holding it inside, the fluid inside is like water. The fluidity of the inside of the spinal cord is not normal. And there's two levels of fluidity. Ezu amracha, vezu amasmasa. Amracha kol shenishpach kekiton, like water. The inside is like water. It's not holding. Mismesa, masmesa. What is masmesa? Kol sheino yachol la'amod. If you hold you put the spinal cord like this, can't balance. It's all just. Rashi, the Farshim say it's like a melting wax inside. In other words, the inside, there's something wrong with the fluid inside the spinal cord. Rabbi Yirmiyah always asks those borderline questions, right? By Rabbi Yirmiyah, we said if it's like water, no good. If it's like a melting wax, no good, because it can't stand. Rabbi Yirmiyah asks, what happens if you can balance it a little, but only if you hold it? He always asks the borderline questions. Teko, we don't know. It's taref. Berav Amre, nitmazmez pasul, nitmazmez kasher. A new concept. Nitmazmez. That's another level of fluidity. What is nitmazmez? Metive Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Be'ema shenitmazmez mocha trefa. Ayin nitmazmez. That's nitmazmez. We can't learn from that. It's the same thing like water. Itmarini. Ve'alevi. Levi tells us an interesting story. He was sitting in those bathhouses that they had then. Yativ b'mesuta chazila ogavra detaria leresha. He saw a guy banging his head into the wall. Amar nitmazmez mocho. His brain is going to go, and we're understanding it means he's going to die. the din lav delochai is not going to live. So we understand that if you that adjective nitmazmez, meaning that it's taref. So same thing would apply to the spinal cord. Amar Abai lo lomar she'eno molid. He meant not. He meant that he will not be able to have babies after this head beating into the wall. And the Tosfot say it's a weird kushiyah because you're trying to learn from the head to the spinal cord. You cannot. The head is a much more severe trefa, and the head even appears in the membrane, which is taref. Spinal cord, you need to cut. So, any event. 2 minutes, we'll finish this. Adechan chut hashidra, amar Rav Yehuda amar Shmuel, ad ben parashot. Until when is the spinal cord? Now we're talking about the bottom. We know the top is from the head, those two little beans we said. At the bottom, how far do you go? Until it splits. But if you look at the spinal cord, the pictures, and you see a picture, I have a picture, but I mean we have time for it. There's 3 splits. Rav Dimi bar Yitzchak avekabai lemeza levet Chozai was supposed to go away to Chozai. Ata legam de Rabbi Yehuda. He came to Rabbi Yehuda. He told Rabbi Yehuda, before I go, teach me. Amar le lecha v'lemar ben aparashot. Until when is the spinal cord? Amar le zilaiti ligdi. Go get me a little lamb, a skinned little lamb, slaughtered. Ve'ach v'le ve'aitele. And he brought him a fat baby lamb. Amar le bli atfe v'lo yadia. Too much fat, I can't see the bones, so I can't teach you. Aitele kechush. He brought him a thin baby lamb. Amar le balit and fe v'lo yadia. Too many bones. The bones are all tight. Can't teach you. This is the rule. Achi amar Shmuel. Ad achat trefa. Until the first split, it's taref. Anything there, you have a cut, taref. Shlishit keshera. Beyond the 3rd split, it's not a spinal cord anymore. It's considered like meat. Shniya and yodea. I don't know about the second one. That's the safek, and that's for the next daf.